Did you hear that? You actually heard a zombie voice saying, "Where are they?" Don't believe me? Listen again. Listen closely. Oh man, one of my favorite moments in the comic book, probably one of my all-time favorite story arcs in general from the comic book, which actually has one of my, you guessed it, favorite panels. One of my favorite panels of all time in the comic book. This is it brought to life on the screen. This is for sure that scene. And yeah, it looks like Eugene with Rosita, and he hurt his knee or leg somehow, and he made himself a little cane, it looks like. Moving on, it is not Lucille. I actually thought, and forgive me for the blurry image, but this does go by pretty quickly. I just assumed Rick had Lucille in this scene, but it seems like Rick has his own Lucille, which looks pretty damn badass. Comic book fans, don't shut up about the Commonwealth, which is a huge community from the comic, and I personally do not believe we're going to see this community anytime soon, but I know a lot of fans are going to run wild with theories, because in one quick moment we see Commonwealth written on this little banner, and I do not believe this is directly connected, most likely just an Easter egg or some foreshadowing, some fun foreshadowing. From the powers to be to mess with the fans. Next up, we got Carol and Ezekiel snuggling at the campsite. Now in the comic, it was Ezekiel and Michonne, and since Michonne is with Rick, they're going to mix it up a bit, and there's no real way to tell what direction the story's going to go, because there's plenty of opportunity to mix this up from the comic, so I'm actually really excited to see what direction they're going here. And we also see Carol and Daryl snuggling up, but we know those are best buds. I mean, hell, that's no surprise. Now, this could be a stretch, but we see them coming up on a broken bridge, and then later we see them fighting with the Saviors on a bridge that looks like they're actually building. My thought process here is that the camp they are at is a temporary camp they set up to do this construction. We see them gathering a lot of wood and logs and trees, and we see them putting this bridge together. We saw the broken bridge, so I'm guessing that in their travels to maybe Washington, D.C. for more supplies, they are also fixing paths back and forth to the different communities. I think this is something that you can easily get distracted from by looking at the fighting and the conflict, and just overlook that this might be a big part of the first couple episodes where we see them fixing the roadways that link each community. This one's probably an easy one to miss because you're distracted by that damn helicopter and we have no clue what the hell that has to do with anything. Last season, Jadis revealed that they were stashing some food, some canned food in the junkyard, and on the can was 3 circles creating a symbol. On the helicopter, next to that suspicious A, and don't freak out, they always sneak A's in The Walking Dead. That probably means something, but different than all the other A's. Moving on to the same symbol on the helicopter. This makes the connection that there is some type of trade possibly going on between Jadis's group, this helicopter, and maybe she did at one time consider going to their community after her community was totally wiped out. But are they good, or is there going to be some problems there? After all, she does return to the junkyard, gun in hand, not looking like she's too friendly right now. And this final warning, literally written on the brick wall, actually reminds me of something from the comic that might even be flipped for the show. This final warning looks like it's a message from a villain to our heroes. However, in the comic, it was our heroes leaving a battle cry, so to speak. Maybe propaganda on a brick wall against our enemies, or their enemies. In one moment, we see Carol with a knife to her throat by a guy who looks like the same guy who got in a fight with Aaron on the bridge that they're building. Maybe he's a savior, most likely. Daryl, Aaron, our guys getting in a scuffle with the saviors. And in another image, we see Carol pulling a gun on this guy. So there's definitely gonna be bad blood between them two, but what's really neat is when Carol finally apparently has her breaking point, she pulls out her pistol, and everyone next to her, and it looks like mostly chicks too, they all pull their straps as well. They're not playing around. Mama Carol says it's time to murder, and they don't hesitate pulling their piece. And Maggie has her own problems, as we can clearly see in the trailer. It looks like she's in a scuffle with Gregory here, and she has this cut or bruise or smack or busted eye in this image here, and we can clearly see that the Gregory slash maybe not Gregory, it's a little difficult to tell, he actually has a knife, so he clearly intends to do some bodily harm. She has this wound on her eye like she got smacked, and maybe a little too revealing, after that we see Maggie with a black and blue mark on her eye, definitely taking place after. This image tells a lot, combined by what we know from the comic. It looks like there's some type of punishment device, wink wink, freshly built in the background there. Daryl is waiting out the executioner probably to carry out punishment, and maybe one of Gregory's collaborators, notice that guy has his hands tied up, has already been captured and tied up and waiting sentence. Maybe Gregory is close nearby, or maybe he's even on that platform. I can't go any further without pointing this out. Watch the trailer again. When you see this herd, look at this guy. He walks like he's not a walker. Now, it could be an extra who's not putting a lot of, drunken oomph in his step, but if you look closely, he's a fucking whisperer. Fine, let's just talk about it. Rick looks injured in this image, clearly. He looks back to his group, who rush to his aid. I don't know what the hell happens. Walker, bad guy, villain, stabbed, shot. To make matters worse, we see this image of Rick leading, yes, that's right, leading a herd away. It appears he's on a white horse. Maybe it's like a white and brown horse, but the horse has a white ass, so I'm calling it a white horse. And he clearly has way too much blood on his side, meaning, yes, he is injured. And with the rumors and confirmation now, I forgot they're not rumors anymore, that this is Andrew Lincoln's last season. I don't know why this is in the trailer. For the love of God. And we also see what appears to be a sweaty and dying Rick being walked upon by a zombie who's looking at him like, "Hey Rick, what are you doing? Are you dying? Get up, you son of a bitch, get up." Either that or he's sleeping, taking a nap, sweating in the heat, and a walker comes face to face with him. I honestly don't know what this is. Normally I'd say, hey, look at that, Rick took a nap and he's got to kill this walker, but now I'm thinking, I hope you aren't revealing too much. Revealing too much? Oh wait, there's more. Now, I'm not an expert on boots, cowboy boots. I'm not a big fan of it. I know Rick wears cowboy boots, but these look like Rick's cowboy boots. The blood, my brain is about to explode. I'll be honest with you. I can't process and fathom this. I know they came out and announced, it's his last season, hoorah, you know what I'm saying? But to have so much in the trailer, there's no way this is legit. I mean, these hints, this has to be misleading, even if this is his last season and he dies or disappears some other way. This in the trailer has to be misleading. There's no way they would put this much evidence in the trailer, and if he dies like this, I am gonna flip out. I just can't fathom, even if this is his last season, there would be so many freaking hints in the trailer. Are you kidding me? Moving on. We already know there's gonna be some savior conflict, but now we get another hint that some saviors still are Negan, which is odd, because he was a dick. And there was a moment in the trailer where it looks like Michonne finds Negan's bat, and it looks covered in blood. It's dark, but it looks covered in blood and maybe some grime, and I'm starting to wonder, was it left out in the battlefield and they're just finding it now? Did somebody have it this whole time? Did someone use it? Is it just too dark of an image and this isn't actually Negan's bat and I'm just getting it mistaken? Is this the Rick version of his own personal Lucille? I don't know what else to call it. His Lori bat. There could be a possibility they go in the direction where some people are upset about the leadership and they end up taking it out on Rick, either stabbing him or something, and that leads to his death. I'm not sure. That right now seems like a weak way to go out, so I'm not really sure, so we'll have to wait and see. But let me know what you guys think about this bat thing. This just seems a bit weird, a bit odd. One little thing I think is pretty neat. We see Father Gabriel lost vision in his one eye, and in the comic book, there's actually a savior who's pretty much a jackass in the around this part in the storyline, and he is the same. He has one eye, and it's neat. They took that one little characteristic and maybe paid homage to it by giving Gabriel the bum eye. And speaking of the comic book, we do know we are getting Magna and her group. Her group might be remixed a little bit, so we'll wait until they get full official confirmation of all that. So far, I know for a fact we got Connie, and then we got Yumiko. They might be remixing the rest just slightly, but Magna right here, the leader of her group, a bit curious, and it still remains to be seen whether she's going to be an enemy or an ally. They don't have to stick with the comic book on this one, but I'm definitely interested in it. And last but definitely not least, Josh McDermott finding out that Rick Grimes is leaving The Walking Dead, Andrew Lincoln is leaving, and he shit himself and wiped his own feces all over him. That is how crazy and insane he went after here. Oh Jesus, oh God, Rosita did the same. I cannot unsee this. Some shit just can't be unseen, literally.